Welcome back to Arbitrary Set of Channel. In today's class, we're going to learn how to make this beautiful exaggerated tulip sleeve. It's a tulip sleeve with the overlap, as you can see, but it has an exaggerated extension on the upper part of the sleeve. It's a very simple tutorial and it's beginner friendly. Okay, so this is a tulip sleeve. A tulip sleeve is like an overlap sleeve, but in this case we are going to have it's going to be an exaggerated sleeve, so we are going to have like extension on it to make it an exaggerated sleeve. That was why I created all these allowances that you can see for my extension. So on the two border sides I measured out 4 inches, you can see, on the side and also on the upper part. So this is going to be the extension that I have created to form the exaggeration that I want for this sleeve. I hope you understand that. So I'm going to start taking measurement for the actual sleeve from inside this blue line. So after creating our basic sleeve, we're going to adapt it to form the exaggerated tulip sleeve. So just like you create your normal basic sleeve, I'm going to mark my sleeve length. For me, that's 12 inches. You can work with any sleeve length of your choice. So for the cap's height, I'm going to come down by around 7 inches for my cap's height, and then I'm going to mark that on this side as well, so that I can have a straight line. So after marking it, this is my sleeve length and this is the cap's height. So the next measurement you're going to need is your round armhole measurement. For me, that's 16 inches. So divided by 2 is going to give me 8 inches. So I'm going to mark the 8 inches there, and then I'm going to create my armhole curve. We will have several tutorials on how to create an armhole curve already. So we have several tutorials on how to do that already on the channel. You can check that out. So I'm just dividing my line. Okay, I connected from this starting point of the sleeve to the point where my cap's height is, and then I'm simply going to divide that vertical line into 4. That slant line, sorry, I'm going to divide it into 4, just like this. So on the first line, remember this is the center fold of the sleeve. This is the side. So on the first one, I'm going to go up by 0.75. On the middle one, I'll leave it as it is, and then on this third one, I'll go down by half an inch. So with my curved ruler, I'm going to connect all of this together from this point to this point to this point. So this is an easy way you can create your armhole for your sleeve. And then I'm going to turn my curve and then mark from here to here as well. So it is that simple. Make sure that the curves are touching all the important points. So you can see I have created my armhole curve. So to complete the sleeve, the next thing is to mark your round sleeve measurement. You are going to mark that on your body, and then you connect. So you can see now that we have our basic sleeve here. So the next thing is to introduce the exaggeration that we want. Just like you can see on the thumbnail, the way the sleeve is shaped, okay, that curve that we have at the head of the sleeve, that's what we're going to try to imitate now. So what I'm going to do now is to extend these lines first. These allowance lines that I created, I'm extending them upwards like this. So on the side of the sleeve, I'm going to link it back to my sleeve length in the diagonal form like this. I hope the camera is capturing it. So I'm going to connect like this, and then with my curved ruler, I'm going to create that edge to this part. So if you watch it carefully, it's very simple to create. So just like this, I'm going to create one side of that edge that we see. So here I'll try to blend it in as much as possible. So one side is done. So the next thing now is to go ahead and create the other side. So for the other side, the same way I have created this cuff, I'm going to create another cuff and then link it to the center of the sleeve. Remember, we divided the sleeve into 4. So the half, that's half of each side of the sleeve. I'm going to place the cuff again, and then I will just complete what I have, just so that I will have something like what we have on the thumbnail there. So you can see that cuff extension that we have there. So that is all I'm going to do to this sleeve. So this part here is very important. I'm going to notice because that's where my new sleeve length starts from. So you can try to check what you have there if it's not up to your handful measurement. So you can see I have more than enough, so I'm just going to work with this. But if you measured yours and it's not going to be enough for your handful measurement, you can just drop your cap side a little and then reconnect it. So mine is okay, so I'll just go ahead and cut this out. So when you are cutting on your fabric, make sure that you note your important points. Okay, so here, and there's no allowance on this pattern, so when I'm cutting on my fabric as well, I'm going to add the necessary allowance that I'm going to need. So for each sleeve, remember it's a tulip sleeve, we are still going to create that overlap cuff. So you will need 2 for each of your sleeves, 2 main fabric, 2 lining for each sleeve. Okay, this is a tulip sleeve, so you will need 2 main fabric, 2 lining for each of the sleeves that you are creating. And this exaggerated sleeve has a structured standing effect. So for that, I'm going to use a collar stay on the lining as well. So this is what we have. I'm going to go ahead and cut this on my fabric now and add my necessary allowances. So you can see I'm going to have to cut it on my fabric, and then I added my necessary allowances all around it. So here I notch this part. Remember, this is where the allowance line starts. So this is where the armhole is going to start. So I notch that because it's very important when you are sewing. And then remember, it's a tulip sleeve. We are still going to create an overlap slash there so that I can lap on each other. So that overlap, I want it to be at this point of my armhole. That's the front part of the armhole, the curved part of the armhole. That's where I divided it into 2 before I created my cuff. So I want it to be here. If you want yours higher or lower, I will still explain that by the time we are sewing. So that's why I notched this part as well. So now I cut out 2 linings as well for 1 sleeve. So it means if we are cutting 2 sleeves, we cut 2 main fabric and 2 lining for them to lap on each other. And then I cut out my stay as well. So I'll go ahead and fuse the stay to the lining, and then I'm going to bring it back for us to see how to sew. Okay, so I have fused the collar stay to the lining. So the next thing now is to sew. So to sew it, you lay your fabric right side facing right side. You sew the main fabric separately and the lining separately. So after laying it, let me explain how I'm going to sew with the pattern. You are going to be sewing, remember this is the side, this is the center. So the center area is what we are going to sew first. So you are going to start sewing from where your armhole, remember all of this extra is the allowance. From where the actual armhole starts, you sew like this to the hem. So basically I've notched that part. Okay, that's the first notch here. So I'll sew from here all the way to the hem like that. I'll do that for both the lining and the main fabric. So I've gone ahead to sew, as you can see. I started sewing from the notch and then I sew all the way to the hem. I did the same thing for the lining now, so you can go ahead and iron it open. So the next thing I'm doing now is to create the overlap effect for the tulip sleeve. So after opening it up like this, remember this place where we notch, that middle part, that's what I'm doing. Basically this is what I'm doing on this middle part here, on the center line, which is where we joined, this part where we have the seam allowance, where we're going to join it. I'm going to go up by 1.5 inches here. Okay, so I'll go up by 1.5 inches here, and then with the head of my ruler I'm going to connect to this part like this, and then I'm going to blend it in. So this is what I'm doing at this center where I have my joining, the seam join. You can see the joining here. I'm going to go up here by 1.5 inches, which is this, and then where I have my notch, that's because I want the overlap to be here. If you want yours to come down, you mark it there. If you want it to come up, you mark it there. So wherever it is you want it to be, that's where you will mark. So I'm going to take my curved ruler and then connect. Make sure you arrange it well. Okay, so now I'm going to connect them like this. So after connecting, you know, it cannot just stay like this, so I'm going to blend it to the other side. So I just find a really nice curve there as well, and then I'll blend it in. So here I've blended it in. So after you have done that, you can see the curve that we are going to cut off the excess that we will have there. So I'm cutting this off. So like I said earlier, this is an overlap sleeve, so they are going to be lapping on each other. So for one sleeve we have this, so for it to lap we are going to create another one. So you can see the difference that we have from this part. You can see my notch, that's why I connected it to the center, and then I blended it like this. So for each sleeve, for one single sleeve, you are going to need 2 of these to lap on each other, which means you will need to cut 4 pieces of this and then 4 pieces of your lining, as against what I said earlier. Please, you will need 4 each, because they are going to be lapping on each other. You are still going to see that. So now, the same way I have cut this now, I'm going to do the same thing to my lining. So I'm just turning the lining out, and then I'm going to tuck them in. So you can see, I want to be sure that, okay, so now you are going to tuck it inside the way it's going to be. So clearly you are going to see the excess, where the excess is and where you need to cut out. So you tuck it in very well, or you just use the pattern that you cut out from this one to trace it out. So you can see I just tucked in the lining the way I want it to be. Okay, you want to use it to finish off the inside like this, so that it can be clean. So what I'm going to do now is to pin the lining in place. It's kind of stiff because of the collar stitch that we have there. So once it is pinned in place, you will clearly see where to cut. Okay, make sure that the center part aligns as well. So once everything is pinned like this, we'll go ahead and trace it out. So the same thing we have done for this side is what we are going to do to the other side as well, including the lining. We are going to shape out the overlap. So here I'm just cutting out this overlap. So you can see now that we have the same thing. So what I'm going to do now is to take it to the sewing machine, and then I'm going to use them to turn each other. Okay, I want to remove the lining now, and then I'll go ahead and use it to turn each other, just like this, right side facing right side. I'm not going to sew the armhole part. Remember, this is our armhole. Okay, so what I'm going to turn is the hem. I'm going to turn the hem with the lining, and then this part that is going to show. Remember, this is where it's going to overlap and it's going to show. So those are the parts I'm going to turn with my lining. I'm just going to place them right side facing right side like this, and then I'll go ahead and sew. So after sewing, I'm going to flip and turn. I'll do the same thing for this side as well. So I've gone ahead to turn it. You can see the other one as well. So when you are tracing the other one, be mindful. It has to be right side facing right. Don't cut on the same side. You can see that they are on opposite side now. Don't cut on the same side so that you not make the mistake. So now that it is neatly turned, the next thing is just to insert them inside each other like this. You can see. So this is the back and this is going to be the front. So the front is where the overlap is. This is the side seam and this is going to be our armhole area. So the whatever part you choose to be your front part, for it to even look more pronounced, what you're going to do is to put a trimming on that overlap side. If you use a contrasting fabric for the two of them, of course it's going to be more obvious. But if you use the same fabric like this and you want it to be obvious, so what you're going to do is to place a trimming there. So I'm just going to use one of these trimmings that I have. I don't have this exact color, so I'll just pick one of them and then use for the purpose of this tutorial. So before I insert it inside like that, I'm going to go ahead and sew it to that overlap area first, and then I'm going to bring it back. So you can see I've sewn it to the part that I want to. Now what I'm going to do next is to insert this inside, just like this. Make sure that it is inside, and then this small part that I have, I'm going to sew it together so that I can hold it, and then I'll do the same thing on this part. So after inserting it, if you have a part that is longer than each other, or that is deforming the shape of your armhole, you can just cut it out, but make sure that you have tucked it in, especially if you are working with a hard collar stay like mine. It's going to make it a little stiff, so you can just work with a gum stay. The gum stay is going to be easier for you to control. Okay, so now we are going to hold that as well. So now we are going to take this and join this together for the side seam, and then this part is going to be sewn to the armhole. I am going to sew the side seam now. You can see. So I try to sew it neatly. I sewed the lining separately and the main fabric separately so that I can have something this neat. So now this is what it looks like. This is from the front look like. This part is where you're going to sew to your armhole, and this is going to be the extension that you're going to have. So I'll take this to the mannequin and see how I can see what it looks like. This is what it looks like on the mannequin. You can see the overlap there and the exaggerated sleeve that we created on the head of the sleeve. I hope you enjoy making this tutorial with me. If you enjoyed it, let us in the comment section, like and comment, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.